Hi everybody, I'm Joey. Well, I'll leave it up to you guys to let me know what style these chairs are. But look, I needed to make 6 dining chairs for my own house. And so I really wanted to make something that was very easy, repeatable, and almost entirely machine made with the tools I have. So I really wanted something that looked interesting and delicate, and so I really liked the mid-century style. So I guess that was my base point for design. But anyway, we'll kick into it and see how we go.
First thing was to take the measurements from my drawings and make full-scale versions. And once I'd cut those out, I could start screwing together a plywood mock-up. And I cut a really rough back shape from a piece of Fijian rimu. So once I was happy with how the chair is feeling, I transferred the pieces into more jigs to start cutting out the first prototype out of some scrap sapele that I had. So by having a routed bit with the bearing on the top and bottom, it meant I can turn my piece over depending on the grain direction, and it really helped in this case because the grain's going all over the place. So I made a series of different jigs for this job. I'll show them all shortly, but this is one of them for cutting the front legs. Summertime. So I've ended up using 3 different size dominoes. One of them I had to make custom, one of them is standard, and the other one is standard but I made custom. So I wasn't really sure if this was going to work, but it turned out to work really well, which is a sliding dovetailed backrest. And where I can, I've made reversible jigs, so I don't have to make lots of left and right hand jigs. Makes things a little bit more complicated, but pretty cool, I reckon. And another very simple jig for the stretchers. It simply holds my pieces in place so I don't have to think about where the domino's going. And again, another simple little jig to hold the chair sides in place while I'm working on them. Anything I can to speed up the process. And of course, a lot of these jigs need refined, but already at this stage it's helping to speed up the process. So for the backrest of this chair, I've just glued up a bunch of scrap maple, and I have this pretty cool jig which works on my router table. So while the blank is square, I'll make the joinery for the sliding dovetail. So what I learnt from this test was that it's much easier just to cut the top of the dovetail off when it's in position. It just adds too much risk of chipping out pieces, taking that sliding dovetail out of the joint again. So the spoke shaving of the back was something I wanted to actually avoid because there's too much inconsistency. It's very difficult to do this evenly and speedily across a range of chairs, so I'll do something slightly different later on. Also, it occurred to me afterwards that these really only need a very small amount of glue, probably at the bottom, because they're a mechanical joint, and it also lets the timber expand upwards as well. So let's just call these countersunk holes. Huh? And a bit of Danish oil to make it look pretty.
So the fine details in these chairs are largely a result of the manufacture process. I didn't want to have any flush joinery where two pieces join together flush because that's have to be a lot more accurate and takes time to clean up those surfaces. Whereas if you can hide any of the inconsistencies in the joinery behind a quirk, it makes life a lot easier, and you don't have to worry so much about when you're cutting the mortises. Plus the sliding dovetail aspect is actually very simple once the jigging is set up. And of course that's something that a particular tool that I have, and I'm making use of it. I wouldn't necessarily think lots of people would have that particular setup, but I'm just using what I have. Anyway, here's a short clip of all the jigs I've made to make this chair up. They're all at a working stage, they work just fine, but probably all of them need a little bit of finesse and attention for longevity's sake, but other than that they are perfectly working.
So I've just ended up using some scrap of Iroko for my chair backs, and I'm just putting this heavy round over on, and actually came out really nice. I think it's much nicer than a hand spoke shaven finish. I need to cut the bottom 5mm off the sliding dovetail just so it seats down into the groove properly, because it has a round bit. You need to allow for that. Now on to upholstering the seats. And for all of the gluing for the foam, I'm just using a can of contact adhesive. And we had the fun of a 2.5-year-old helping us sew the patterns for the upholstery.
Not that fast, darling.
It was a bit fast.
So once Holly had cut the pattern out of the calico, we could work out the best yield from the size of the vinyl that we have. Now we are using vinyl because it's cheap and we have a little kid. Probably when I sell these I will do it out of leather. I'm still not sure exactly how we're going to go about sewing the leather, but that's another problem for another day.
Well, now I need a dining table.